Much for being here today. Every year, as we go through this H-1B cap process, I say to myself and my team, it cannot get more complicated or uncertain. And every year I have been wrong. Maybe next year will be a different story. I certainly know that the conversations in Washington are a little different. So we hope, I'm calling this the hope year. My name is Giselle Carson. Many of you know me. You have been working with me. I'm a business immigration attorney. I've been practicing U.S. business immigration for over 15 years now. Hard to believe. We have had a very interesting year. Not this year alone, for the last 4 years. As we approach the new H-1B cap season, I thought that we were going to start, we're actually starting to level off. It is certainly better right now than even 2 weeks ago. There is, as I said before, there is a different conversation in Washington, and there is many things happening and many new proposals. The new immigration plan, I call it bold and extensive. Who knows at the end what is going to pass. But for now, and probably a lot of you have questions about, what's happening, what's the new plan, how does it affect us? And I promise you, I will be doing follow-up webinars and blog posts and newsletters all about that. But today, I really want to concentrate on the H-1B because that is what is, affecting you all. So here we go. We're going to cover the H-1B basics, the cap, the lottery, the timelines, the new and the ongoing challenges, addressing those challenges. My H-1B file is file now what? Now, know that I have a wide variety of people on the call. Some of you have gone through this process before. Some of you have not gone through this process before. So I'm going to try to go from very simple to more complex. I want this to be for you. So I've received some questions before we started, and I appreciate those, and I'm going to address those as we go through the webinar. If you have other questions that are general questions, please, put them in the chat. I also have Ellen. It's a co-panelist with me, so she will, if she can answer some questions on the chat, she will do that. And again, I'm also monitoring it. But I want you to be engaged. So the first thing that because I believe the best way to learn is by actually engaging in the process of learning. So one of the things that I have for you is just type in the chat, one, for those of you that have been through this process, what has the process felt like for you? And even if you haven't been through the process, you're going through the process this time, what does it feel like? And what would you like it to feel like? So let me see what those answers are like while I move on to the next slide. So again, what has it been like? And what would you like it to be like? Unclear, yeah, definitely. Stressful, yeah. Who else? Unclear and stressful, I can certainly relate to those. I like it to be more clear, more timely, better systems, initiatives, yeah. Intuitiveness, yeah, frustrating, yeah, yeah. So, and I'm asking you all of this because to some degree, more predictive, yeah. And again, there is a purpose to the madness. So keep putting things in there. I'm asking you this because to some degree, we do have some control, and I will talk about that. And there's other things, obviously, that we don't have control over it. And in addition to all of this, there is life. And I have this slide here because we are very mindful that for many of you, this is not the only thing that you have in life. We have, you have other jobs, other meetings, other things that you have to do. Many times, a humongous inbox of emails or people that drop into your office. Oh, do you have a minute? Or I have this question for those of you that are in the office. Many of you are HR professionals. You have issues with COVID. You have issues with payroll or onboarding and many things. You have families. You have kids. It goes on, and then of course you have immigration. So we get that, and what we try to do is to make the process take a lot away from you and provide support systems that lessen that uncertainty, that anxiety. Many foreign nationals don't know what the process is all about, so they go to their HRs, to find answers, and we try to take some of that away from you. From our end, also we share some of those feelings, and this is kind of just a little story of, we have a team of 4 that will be interacting with you. Myself was born in Cuba, immigrated to Canada, then immigrated to the United States. I've been through this process. I feel nervous. I've felt uncertain. So I've been through all of that. And then when we do cross that finish line, when we do get those approvals, when in fact, last week, we received our first green card in a very long time. And I just couldn't stop admiring it. I was looking at it and saying, oh my goodness, this is so pretty. It was just such an amazing feeling to see it was a husband and wife employment-based national interest waiver. We've been working with them for 2 years, and finally they got their green card. So those were the first 2 of this year. And we hope to see many more with your help. Again, up at the top last year, it was a year of superheroes. And at some point we felt that we're the superheroes of immigration. That's not what we look like in real life, but for some of you that, I just looking at these pictures, there's Tyra with the cape. Ellen is right beside her, a superwoman, and then Gabby and I are the other 2 smaller ones towards the end. So that's the team that is up front, talking to you, working with you. All right, so very basic things here. U.S. bachelor's degree is the minimum requirement. Working in a specialty occupation, and what constitutes a specialty occupation has gone through various iterations and definitions over the last few years. As of today, when we work with you, we are going to be working on a project. So for the foreign nationals that are on the call and the HR professionals. So when you hear us talk about the project, what we have been doing very successful for the last few years is to work with you to pick a project. It doesn't have to be a current project. It could be a future project. It could be a past project, or something that the foreign national is working on or will work on that reflects the skills necessary for that position. And we incorporate into that project the education, the courses that they took during their college years that are necessary to bring that project to fruition. We like to bring our cases to life through those projects. So this immigration petitions that USCIS received, they will be going through at least 85,000 of them. We aim to have ours looking the best that we can, colors and images, so that we can bring what you are all doing to light. And in fact, just a few days ago, we received a building design from one of our clients in New York. And I said to Ellen, oh my God, it was magnificent. It was such beautiful architecture. And so those are the kind of things that I want as we work through these projects with you. When we talk about a specialty occupation, we want to bring that beauty into the filings that we're preparing. It's definitely employer-based visa. So if we're national, cannot just go ahead and self-sponsor for the visa. Initially, it's good for 3 years. So for most of the cases that we're going to be filing, they're in initial 3 years with a potential extension of 3 more years. And then after that, it gets complicated, and we'll talk through that as we get there for you guys. For those who are new, before those petitions are filed, an LCA has to have been filed and certified. So when, say, April 1st, which is typically the first day of filing, before we put that petition in the mail, we have to have an LCA that has been certified. So typically we file those LCAs at least 10 days before of the filing of the petition. So just as we go through the timeline later, that will start making more sense. The period when the H-1B becomes effective is October 1st through September 30th. So I know you HR professionals know this, but many of the managers that come to you kind of go, okay, I have a foreign national, they're on F1, I want to hire them, they're perfect for the job. And, I want them to start June. And, as you know, they're going to have to go through the CAP, they're going to have to go through the lottery. And even though if they get selected, the H-1B status doesn't begin until October 1st, but there is ways to keep them employed during the CAP gap, and I will address that. And then the spouse of the foreign national and their unmarried children under 21 can apply for H-4 status. Again, these are just basics for those of you that have not gone through this before. Again, this is kind of basic also. The CAP, there is 85,000 H-1B visas available every year. 65,000 of those are what we call the regular CAP. And everybody is part of that regular CAP. And then there is an additional 20,000 for U.S. master's degree. So those are foreign nationals that have obtained a U.S. master's degree that qualify from an accredited university. The lottery, how does it work? If there have been more than 85,000 petitions filed, which that has been the case for quite a few years, then there is a lottery. So all the petitions as they were filed with USCIS, they get assigned a number. And then when the CAP selection or the CAP period ends, they close it and they run all those numbers through a lottery, an electronic lottery, and they select the ones that they're going to award one of these visas. It is computer generated, it's random selection. There's 2 lotteries, and that actually changed last year how the selection was going to happen. And what is expected to happen this year is that all cases, so U.S. masters and bachelors, are going to go into the first CAP, the 65,000. And then the U.S. masters that do not get selected under that first lottery will go under the second lottery. And this has the benefit of, it benefits the U.S. master's degree. Last year, most of the petitions that we had selected were U.S. masters. Not to say that bachelors were not selected, but the majority were U.S. master's degree because they have 2 chances at the lottery. One of the questions that I got asked is that it would premium processing, adding premium processing to my petition, would it change the chances of being selected? And the answer is no. Premium processing will not increase the chances. Basically, premium processing just accelerates how the petition is going to be processed. And for the last few years, I've used premium processing very strategically, as some of you that work with me know that. And again, I address the premium processing typically on a case-by-case basis, depending on the need, business necessity, and other things. Questions so far? How are we doing? Thumbs, can you give me thumbs up? Or are we doing okay? Any questions so far? I know that Ellen has been clarifying some things. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so this is, I also get asked this a lot. So awesome, thank you. You know, how many petitions are filed, da, 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 da. So here we go. This are from 2015 to now. It has been up and down. Interestingly, last year, there were more than ever. And at the end of the day, ended up having a second lottery, as some of you know, that were part of that process. So those have been the numbers. So now I'm going into a little more of what the timeline is like, and this is something that everybody wants to know. So as I go through this, please let me know if you have questions on the chat, because this is important for all of you. Most likely there will be a registration this year. And for those of you that went through this cap last year, you know that the registration happened for the first time last year. And amazingly, it went better than expected, I think, for everybody. We don't know yet if the registration will happen, but we believe it will. The regulation, the way it was written, is that it has to be open for at least 14 days. Last year, it was open for 20 days. So the way it worked last year, it opened on March 1st, it closed March 20th. From March 20th through March 30 or 31st, the lottery happened. And then right at the end of March, we knew who had been selected on that registration. From our end, what we're doing right now, for a lot of you that are working with us, is we're going through the basic due diligence process. Tyra and Ellen have already started to make calls to the foreign nationals and their HRs that are going through the lottery, so that in addition to what I'm talking to you about today, we will be having individual calls with each one of you, because every case is different, so that we will be addressing the specific issues that we're seeing with your cases. It could be that you're on CPT. It could be that you don't get your master's degree until after registration. It could be that, you know, you're on your second master's degree and you're running out of OPT. There's all kinds of issues. Again, every case very specific. So this is just a general overview, and we'll address your individual issues as we go through preparation. We're also collecting all the basic documents and making sure that the bachelor's degree is an equivalent to a U.S. bachelor's degree and all those kind of things. So that's what we're doing now. As of March 1st, if it is March 1st that they open the registration, we will be ready to file those registrations. What we did last year is we did not put in the registrations in on the first day. In fact, I think we waited until day 5 or 6, because we did not want to be the guinea pigs, you know, trying out the systems. There were some issues and glitches, and by the time we put in our registrations, they had been resolved. So just know that the registration, you know, is expected, if it goes forward, is expected to be open for 14 days. So I don't want to be the first one, and typically I don't want to be the last. But when I went before and said to you, you know, just start giving me some ideas as to what is stressful about this process. And many of you said, you know, the uncertainty, the stress, the anxiety. Some of that can be controlled by us and you as a team, by making sure that we make time to register timely. Issues do come when we're trying to register the last day of registration, and we're trying to file the last day of filing an H-1B. So be mindful of all of this. We have a little bit of control, and that is like now. And so I want you to work with us through that and remember that. So preparation, registration, let's say that, we receive who was selected. Last year, I debated whether to file the LCAs before selection or after selection. At the end of the day, we decided to file the LCAs after selection, even though we had prepared, we had done a significant amount of work to get the filings ready. And the reason we decided to file the LCAs after selection is because if the person was not selected, then we wanted to just to keep the records clean for the employers. We decided to file after, so we didn't have to withdraw those LCAs that were not being used by you. So most likely we'll follow the same plan this year. Oh, actually, no. So this slide wasn't updated. So just think, well, registration and then lottery and then LCA preparation and LCA certification. So this is a slide that I used last year. So basically LCA preparation, we did it after the lottery, then LCA certification, and then the H-1B filing, and then USCIS adjudication. Hopefully I didn't confuse too many people with that. Okay, questions on timing? Are we okay on any questions so far? There's dates for these items. Let me go back. So we still expect to have the results. Okay. So here we go. So this is kind of, so we're continuing to talk about timelines. So let me answer some of those. And again, I appreciate your questions because that's what this is for. It's for you. So here's what we had last year and what we potentially have this year. Oh, something else that I have to tell you. So USCIS is required to provide the dates of the registration at least 30 days in advance. So, they have to come up with something anytime soon, literally. Because March 1st will be here in a minute. So it could happen that registration happens after. I mean, they could push it as far as March 14th, registration opens through March 30th or something. They have those 14 days. So we'll see, but it could be, March 1st intended and March 20th ends. There's a $10 registration fee for the potential beneficiary. There is a USCIS online portal. And again, the employers, we're going to be working with you on this. That's what we did last year. Last year, USCIS has several webinars about the registration process. I don't know. I haven't seen anything announced this year yet. I know they have a lot of other things going on. But we created a very detailed kind of flow chart and checklist or so for our employers to register. And it truly went flawless. They just follow, check here, do this, do that. And it went really, really well for everybody. We had minor issues with employers. So even if USCIS doesn't do the webinars, I feel very confident that we will get you through this without a problem. For employers, what to do, and actually some of you, you need to go ahead and check your My USCIS accounts, make sure that your passwords are still working, make sure that you didn't forget your password and you need to contact USCIS so you can get access to those accounts. So that's something that I'm going to give to-dos to everybody, including ourselves, through this. So that's for you, for the employers. For those of you that did not register last year and are working with us for your first registration, again, we've got you covered. We did it successfully for many employers last year. Employers, for those of you that are not familiar with the MyUSCIS site, again, create the account, become familiar, designate an authorized person. This was really, really important. You have a lot going on, HR professionals. It makes it a lot easier on you all if there is one person that owns this process, because they will become familiar with the site and what needs to happen. Foreign nationals, your passports is part of one of the documents that we need to submit. Not your passport itself, but the passport number and validities. So please check your passport. And invariably last year, as many times as I repeated it, we had clients that we were ready to file and they were in the process of renewing their passports. So this is something that you can start doing right now if you can, renew your passports. For all of us, we're going to be working with you to establish the eligibility of the position, that make sure that everything that the beneficiary has qualifies. And then most importantly, we would be working with you on the cap gap, the OPT, the STEM, prevailing wages. It's going to be an ongoing issue. And then the premium usage, whether premium processing would be a benefit to you or not. So going back to the timelines, so and I'm going to, again, what happened last year. So March 1st, up until March 1st, we're going to be working with all of you on the due diligence foundation collection, gathering of information. March 1st registration opens. If it's open through March 20th, somewhere in there, we will file for your registration. Say April 1st, we'll know the results of the lottery, and I'll go through that, how that happens. Once we know that you were selected, we have 90 days to file your petition. So that is why, the vetting and the work ahead of time is very, very important, because those 90 days fly by. And then once the petition is filed within the 90-day period, then USCIS starts working on the process and adjudicating those petitions. Last year, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that all of our H-1Bs, one, kudos to all of you that worked with us last year and to my team, because I'm so proud of this, on a crazy year. All of our H-1Bs were approved without our fees before October 1st. And that was humongous. So thank you to you all, because we certainly cannot do it alone. So that was kind of the timeline last year. In prior years, we had petitions that it was still January, like this year, and the H-1Bs were still pending. And so hopefully this year will, in a way, in that everything would be adjudicated by October. So I hope that answers those questions. Please, again, put questions on the chat, ask me. This is Frio. Registration, how does it work? Attorney prepares, signs, and submit the G28 via the MyUS portal. And this is what we're calling a G28 handshake. So we prepare the G28, we submit it. Obviously, we need to get the signature from the employer on the HR professionals on the G28. USCIS issues a passcode to us. No, it's just a passcode for us to give to the client. You use a passcode to approve us. Anyway, it goes back and forth. What we did last year is that we said, Company A, are you going to be available to, are you going to be available Friday morning so that we can do the G28 handshake? And they said, yeah, we're available at that time, So we did it. They knew we were doing it. We knew we were doing it. We exchanged the codes, and then we were off running. After that, you guys didn't have to touch the accounts anymore. We ran with what we needed to do next. Okay. Thanks, Ellen, for saying that what the G20A is. Sometimes I'm just kind of no. Okay, selection process. I touched on a lot of this already, so I'm just gonna. I want to be also mindful of the time. One thing that is, so I put this 2 in red here because probably many of you had heard about the potential lottery selection based on the highest wage first. That is gone now, so I'm not going to go into it much more than to say prevailing wages will continue to be an issue. The rules were postponed, withdrawn, but not necessarily eliminated. So I am being very mindful of all of this. I'm monitoring and working with you all to make sure that we process timely and with the best prevailing wages possible. How we learned if someone had been selected for the lottery, no one knew last year how this was going to happen. And what ended up happening is we received, me and as the attorney of record and the designee HR professional from the company, we received an email basically saying, you know, your account has been updated. Basically, that's all it said. And sometimes I went in and nothing had happened, so that it was missed. You know, sometimes it was true that there was someone that had been selected, that the account had been updated, and sometimes I went in and there was nothing. But that's how we learned. We got an email basically saying, and it didn't say who or what, it just said your account has been updated. So we logged into my USCIS and saw who had been selected. Again, I talked about the 90-day window to file, and then the strategy, which is pretty essential. You know, how do we go from the OPT and the STEM? So that's my next slide, because this is important for all of you. Questions so far? Am I doing that well? Okay, so this can be, again, for some of you, this is basics, or for some of you, when is the second lottery? I would be surprised if there is a second lottery this year. The only time, and again, I've been doing this for 15 years, the only time that there have been a second lottery was last year. It was completely unannounced. There was no memos, there was no Friday email, which is kind of what happened every Friday last year. I was bracing myself for what memo was going to come from USCIS on Friday evening or Friday afternoon. All that happened last year with the second lottery. Just like I said before, we got notifications, you know, your account has been updated, and we're like, huh? And when we went in, it was the fact that, you know, somebody had been selected on that second lottery. And again, I think the reason it happened is because they had selected their 85,000, but a fair amount of those did not go forward. USCIS is under the mandate to do everything they can to maximize the use of all the H-1B petitions. They're scarce enough as it is. That's why they have a lottery. So the only way that they could do that is by going in and selecting, not truly doing a new lottery. So they selected from the same pool of the 275,000 that have been that have registered. So that's what they went in and pulled. I mean, I think this year we all know how the economy is doing, and the businesses kind of know what they will be able to support or not to some degree. So I think everyone that is filing to some degree is because they intend to move forward. But the lottery happened last year after the second lottery after July, when USCIS had a handle on which cases were going to move forward. Okay. When you are able to move to the US and for your children to start the school? Very good question. let me just, I'm going to answer that one very quickly, and then I'll going to go to this H-1B cap gap because that's going to affect a lot of people. So remember when I said before that, typically what happens to me is I have a call from an HR professional that says, I, had a manager that came to my office. There was somebody that they want to hire. They're just perfect for the job, except for the fact that they need a work visa and they need an H-1B. And can you get it done by tomorrow, by the way? And they call me and I kind of go, yeah, okay, we'll do magic. But the best magic that we can do is we register you, you go through the lottery. Ideally, you were selected under the lottery in April, I'm sorry. We file, we get an approval and again, this is a case that potentially we want a premium process if you're abroad and you need to come in and get kids into school. We premium process that case so that we have a certainty that your visa has been approved, your H-1B has been approved, but that H-1B is not valid for work until October. So you need to get a visa stamp in your passport abroad to enter the United States in H-1B status. The earliest you can come in is it's 10 days before that visa becomes valid for work. So September 20th is the earlier someone can come in, okay? Okay, I'm gonna move forward with the presentation and then I'll address some of the other questions as I can because they're very specific to cases. So cap gap, how does this work? So April, again, USCIS starts accepting petitions. Many of you are on OPT, F1 OPT, working for employers on EAD status, okay? Typically, those EAD end at some point in June, July. If you were on OPT EAD and your OPT ends July, your EAD ends July 1st. And we file your petition April or May, say May, because it's a lot more realistic. Then the filing of that petition while you were work authorized puts you on this situation called the cap gap. Basically, the filing, I would never forget when this rule passed because it truly opened the doors for my clients to continue to have F1 EADs on staff and working and continue to contributing. Before that, as crazy as things are today, there was no cap gap, and so this is a big deal. The cap gap allows those of you that are on STEM and not STEM, just OPT EAD, to continue working under that EAD all the way through September 30th by filing that petition, having that petition accepted by USCIS, and having your EAD valid at the time that that petition was filed. And I hope that makes sense. So again, if all of those check, then you continue to work through September 30th. And this is very, very important. And that's what I said last year. We were just in awe and we were thrilled for all of our clients because by October 1st, all of our petitions have been approved. So we didn't have to worry about this too much because the other question that I get a lot is, well, I'm on OPT. And this is one of the questions that I received. Should I extend or should I apply for my STEM OPT because, I'm going to be covered with this cap gap. So really, maybe I shouldn't apply for my STEM. My answer to you is yes. Use every option that you can to maintain your work authorization. And the reason is this September 30th. If for some reason, which again, last year it didn't happen, but for the 2 years before that, it did happen, that we got to September 30th, and the petition, the H-1B petition, had not been approved yet, and premium process had been removed, and you were you couldn't work. You were in status, but you couldn't work. But if you did apply for your STEM and you received that STEM, filing, then that STEM allows you to continue to work beyond October 1st. So there is no gap on your employment, and your employers will be very, very happy. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So the answer to, should I apply for a STEM? If you can, I think that is a gift. Run, grab it, do it when the time allows, because I know there's a lot of timing involved on this. Okay. Okay, and Ellen also clarified that in the chat. Okay, so challenges again are going to be registration, obviously, whether you get selected through the registration. The uncertainties that we still have, even as of today, we don't know if there's registration, but I'm moving forward with the plan that there will be one. If there isn't one, well, they're back. I'm back to what I've done for the last 10 years, whether you're selected or whether you're rejected. And then the next row here is making sure that we have a strong petition to support the specialty occupation. A lot of the RFPs that were received last year were just on that the petition was not sufficient enough in the eyes of USCIS to show that there were, it was a specialty occupation. Prevailing wages, and I will work with each one of my HR gurus on that, and the time. It's always the timing and what is ahead is always a concern. So how do we, and the emotions that go through all this process. This is how we're, addressing these issues, and that's why I said to you it was important at the beginning. The how do you feel? How do you want to feel? A strategic early case planning, evaluating, which is exactly what we're doing right now with all of you, is critical. Partnership. Those that have worked with us before know that I say teamwork and partnership a lot. And I just don't say it, I believe it. I know we have a role to play. The HR professionals have a role to play. You foreign nationals have a role to play. And all of us together make this successful. Preparing extensive documentation, and you're going to see a picture of one of our filings. As I look at some of the petitions that we filed 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I tell my team, even though those were approved, and at the time we thought they were solid, if I file one of those today, they will not get approved. So we've learned, we've grown through the process. Planning for flexibility, planning for delays in the process, allow for that, because no matter how much we do, it is life, it happens. Staying alert for changes. I hope most of you, if not all of you, are getting my newsletters. I put information in there, and if there's other things that I know we need to address with you, we'll get on a chat, we'll be on video on Zoom, so that I can keep you up to date as to what is happening that affects you. And then adjust for changes as we need to. I put this in here because when we were going through this process, and I get excited about it because we had no idea of what the registration selection notices were going to look like. So when I did this presentation last year, I just said, well, we're going to get something. So this is what it looks like. This is what the registration selections notices look like when we got them. As you can, see in the bottom, it had the company, the date of birth, the beneficiary, the company, the FIN number, the beneficiary's name, the date of birth, and the passport number. So again, this is why all of this is important. All right. So this is what it's going to look like when they come in the mail. Once we actually file, this is the, you were selected. This is the receipt notice. This is a sample of one of our H-1B petitions last year. And, now I'm putting this here because we have gotten RFEs in H-1Bs, and that's how we've learned through this whole process, through these RFEs. We read them, we learn them. In fact, we got one, what did we get the other day? Oh, one of our first interview notices with USCIS for an adjustment of a status. And I said to the team, I was like, please read it word by word and compare it to the one, the last one we received, just to see what word changed, because every little change in word has a meaning in the USCIS world. And I want you to be as prepared as possible whenever we're representing you. So we are looking at these RFEs and comparing to whatever we got before to see where the little tweaks are and how we address them. How are we addressing some of these RFEs before, and sometimes, so before in the initial filing and after, depending on, again, what we decided with you on the planning, is showing beyond the position, showing the team, showing who else is involved, showing their professional status, showing their professional degree, showing the specialized nature of what you do. Again, going back to the position itself. And so now we're going beyond the project and we're showing pictures of the work site. We're showing pictures of the tools that you're using. And we just continue to expand and to build on the work that you are doing, the amazing work that you're doing. And then above all, keep calm and wait. And we've done a lot of just trying to keep calm, not just through immigration, through everything that we have gone through. And at the end of the day, very happy to, when this comes through. I'm going to glance through some of these things fairly quickly now because we're running out of time, and I want to make sure that if there is any additional general questions that I address them. But it will happen that some of you are not selected. And then it's the question of, okay, if I'm not selected, what do I do? What are my options? And this is the variety, some of the options. And we have a whole FAQ that I update every year as to what are my options if I don't get selected. Also, what we do with each one of you, if you're not selected, we will have an individual call with you and your HR as to what are your options. And every one of you is different. And when we actually talk on the phone, there's things that we have not considered that because it's your case that may work. But the things in reality at the end of the day, the things that in general end up working. I mean, if you qualify for any 3 or a TN or an O or an L, at some point before we went into a lottery, we would have explored that. So what ends up happening is either you go back to school, which I would almost say in 70% of the cases or more, that's what ends up happening. And again, we strategize with you as to, another degree or CPT or what degree and all of that. But at the end of the day, going back to school, ideally to get a higher degree or continue studies under CPT. Again, if you have the option of a STEM, please grab it. It is a gift. H-1B concurrent employment, that has happened a few times. And if that possibility is there, we'll explore it with you. Marriage to a US citizen, I put it in here because it does happen, but it's certainly not the one that we jump at first, just because foreign nationals, and quite often, I mean, you want to get to whatever your work authorization is and on your own terms in a way that, same as I did. I studied to create a path for myself, but it's an option out there. So again, this is the universe of post H-1B, and we'll talk about it with you if we have to go there. Okay. this one, as some of you know me, I'm a runner, I'm a marathoner, and invariably, I know this is a very difficult process, and you're going to hear about your friend that did this, and A happened and B happened, and your case is the same as your friend. And I'm telling you right now, no case is the same. And the facts are very different. They're always different. So, or you went on the internet and you read and you heard, and this is what we're here for you. Again, runners, move to the side of the road when the vehicle approaches, and look what you find. It is a stressful process. Please do not go hunting on the internet to see and read and hear what other people. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. Believe me, we will, if there are things that you need to know, we will reach out. Or you can reach out to us, but don't panic every time you read something in the internet. I mean, right now, again, there is 11 million people potentially that are going to become legalized. Well, that's just not going to happen tomorrow. So just take a deep breath and stay calm. That's the best thing that we can do through this process. Here we are. Our goal is to make the process again as friendly as we can for you. We've been doing it for a while. We understand that it can be terrifying. We understand that it can be very uncertain. We will hold your hand. I just need you to also reach out and give me your hand. I cannot hold your hand until you actually partner with us to do it. So it's a partnership, it's teamwork. We've dealt with all the challenges so far. If nothing else, we are better attorneys, we're better paralegals, we're better legal assistants today than we were last year at this time. So I'm embracing the process with open hands. I am here for you. We are here for you. And I thank you for participating. It's 2:53 on my clock here. I'm going to kind of end it here. If there is any, this is kind of a screenshot from some of our prior clients, and I hope that for many of you, we can bring peace of mind, relief, hope, opportunities, joy, delight, and all the positive energy that we can bring to you. So was this helpful? Let me know on the chat. For some of you that are new, older, what do you think? I know many of you are probably on mute. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. Again, we'll be reaching out to you to make sure that we go through the process. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your input, your partnership, and thank you for being here. Okay. Take care, everybody.